Clean garage.
It is, look. Let me go into clean garage mode. Look at how clean things are.
Very clean. It's very, very tidy. About to make a huge mess over here with
I'd tied it because
SR
of Daniel's incontinent SR.
It's just, well, there's a lot of parts.
Yeah, that's fine. But that's not the problem. Today's problem is this. It is time for that to become good friends with that, with some special things in between the two, and then it needs to go there.
Sounds good.
Sounds simple, doesn't it?
Sounds great.
Don't worry, we've got plenty of things we need to do first. I'm dragging this out for a full 20 minutes. Actually, remember how I painted this? And I was like, right, that's good, I'll not put any nonsense on it and keep it there. Yeah.
And then just put stuff on it.
It's already turning into a bench. Yeah. Right, enough's enough. This needs to go in a car.
I think so.
But I have been looking at my lovely clean engine and also the lovely clean gearbox. But between the two, there needs to be a lovely
clutch.
There needs to be a lovely clean clutch. And I'll be honest, we are between the whole Christmas and New Year when postal services don't work and stuff. And I was like, I haven't ordered a replacement clutch. So I think what we might need to do, don't hate me internet, is put the old one in.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is going to just be NA.
For the moment.
That clutch is more than enough for an NA setup.
Well, is it?
It'll be fine. And the thing is if it does go turbo, the engine has to come out anyway.
Yeah.
To do all the associated turbo things.
I was thinking about that because yes, the idea is you put it in and then you just adapt it, but you don't just adapt it. It needs to have quite an amount of surgery to take a turbo, especially the VVT, which is, you know, a stressed engine at the best of times.
Well, the thing is, when we done Brian's, what we done is we done head studs, gasket, all the associated stuff. And yes, you can struggle and do it in the car, but it was so much easier having it.
A lot easier.
Yeah.
But then, so what the internet will now ask us, Daniel, is, well, just do that right now.
Yeah, but then then we need to get more stuff and do more work.
Well, what my response to that is the definition of project creep.
Yeah.
What I would like this year, as I have promised, is a car that runs. So
it's also nice as well to have this out on the road and test everything with not a lot of power.
Yeah.
So also quite a good idea.
Yeah.
Right, so let's have a
That's
look.
all right.
Right, so that's fine.
It has an amount of life. What you're looking for, by the way, when you're looking at a clutch, is there should still be grooves. Like tyres, it's got to have tread on it. And these wee grooves need to be there.
That actually doesn't look too bad, to be fair.
I would not be afraid of putting this back in. It's an Exedi.
It's not going to slip, put it that way. How long is this going to be in the car for? That's the key thing.
Well, that's kind of it. It needs to be in the car long enough for it to get through the IVA, do a year of driving, and then I go, I'm bored and need more power.
Yeah, it's stock power. And these clutches last how long on stock power?
Well, that one's probably lasted this entire bloody I mean, they're not going to be weak points.
It'll be absolutely fine.
The Techno Goblin has actually come up with a very good suggestion here. We have numerous 1.8s kicking about.
Let's just take the best one.
Yeah.
Let's take the best clutch.
So my understanding, all of the 1.8s are the same when it comes to clutches. So we can do a side by side and double check this. A service for you guys, from me. And we can also just make sure whatever one's best goes in.
Yeah.
And as if to prove the point,
That's definitely the worst one.
it was a good idea, but there's what it looks like with zero fucking tread whatsoever.
Look at the... Oh, look, there is a hint on that side.
A hint of tread.
Right, so we're not using that one.
That's minced. That is absolutely toast. Look at the heat spots on the flywheel as well.
Yeah, someone has been...
What's happening there is that's going straight in the bin because I'm actually tripping over MX-5 right now. There's no need to have this.
I've got a feeling this one has been used for some drifty burnouts.
Drifty burnouts.
So you can buy the colour of the flywheel and the pressure plate.
Yeah. Putting an engine in, we don't need to fully dress this because we're going to do many things once it's in the car, but it still needs to land, so we need to think about the engine mounts. And that's an important point because we haven't up until now, and if I'm being honest, we're still not going to because I have got race... What?
Which you're still not... It's going to have to...
It's going to
have to be mounted.
Yes, but before anyone asks about race mounts and hard mounts and all this nonsense, I have them in the MX-5, right? And it's a bit vibrating. It's actually to the point where nothing There's nothing that won't vibrate. It's just, even the windscreen's vibrating. And there's going to be a lot that'll vibrate in this car at the best of times, because I've made it with spanners and my own welder. I don't need the additional hassle, right? So the stock ones are going on. However, I did have a look at them. And in our efforts, in our quest, in our goal to make a light car, we're probably going to fail.
They are quite beefy.
These have got some meat. Now, I did consider making up something a bit more frugal, a bit lighter, but realistically, I'm not going to be able to do anything that's going to be as strong as this. And in the big scheme of things, I don't want the engine falling out. So
it's not good. It's not ideal.
Having an engine landing at some does not, you know, you're not going to go fast if that happens. So we're just going to clean these up and fire them back on. I had a check, the mounts are actually really quite strong. These are some of the better ones I've taken off MX-5s, and I've taken a lot of engine mounts off MX-5s over the years. So we're just going to clean these up, fire them on, and then it's time for the big thing that needs to go between the engine and the gearbox. I will actually, now that I've used one in the MX-5 for a few months and I'm quite impressed with it, RTS do a really good organic, nice, sensible, not 6-puck clutch, but still uprated, and a lightweight flywheel package for, it's 400 quid, 400 a quid.
And it takes good power, takes good proven
power, because I'm not the only one that did it. Brian's got it in his Turbo MX-5, which is running quite disgusting amounts of power, and it's not slipped yet.
So no, it's been absolutely fine, even between gears and everything. Yeah, it's solid.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's taken a lot of punishment. So I've ordered one of those. It's in the post. Will be with us imminently. So I need to fire that on, and then we'll mate it all up as per how it came out. We're going to just chuck it in engine and box. Hopefully the jig should make things a wee bit easier and get it on a crane.
Yeah.
But what other things can I find in this episode to make it a pain in the arse and string some drama out?
Sure, you'll find something.
Oh, the drama!
Just try and fit it. I'm sure it'll create its own drama.
Yeah, a good bit of drama is worth it.
We were also discussing this earlier, weren't we?
What?
The old coolant.
Oh yeah, the coolant thing. So, yeah, I don't. Do you know what's interesting, right? That Daniel kind of pointed this out, because for reasons that we won't get into right now, we're talking about Volvos, right? Now, a lot of people talk about the coolant mod on this. Now, for a standard, let me get this description right, because I've fluffed this a couple of times. For the 323 that this came out of, the coolant would go in here, through the engine, and then out a thermostat housing here, and into the radiator.
Which makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense. But as soon as you put this engine longitude, that's the firewall. So there's not really a great amount of space, and the radiator's still here. So what they've done instead is the coolant goes in this thing, and then out here. So all of this doesn't really have a great amount of coolant flow. No. Now there's a big thing in the MX-5 circles where it's like, well, you just put the coolant to the back and run a stupid big hose and it looks horrific. Yeah. And I thought, well, what we could potentially do is run a hard line underneath whatever we put here and make it look a bit neater. We've got the space, we've got the time, we could do that. What Daniel suggested is what the Volvo boys do.
Yes.
This is spicy, but I'm still thinking about it just because it's different. What if you blanked all of this shit off and you ran, similar to an oil scavenge pump, ports into here with AN fittings and one manifold, which flows coolant equally across all 4 pistons and out the same core plugs on the other side, with an electronic actuated water pump run from the ECU that cools this engine as it needs it.
There is a way, the other way the guys at the Volvo do it. So what they do is they come in the core plugs, and then they go up through the head, and then they come out the back.
I mean, that also works because you're still doing an equal circulation to feed in, and you're just evacuating out one port. Lots of interesting concepts there. Whether or not we do it on this first iteration, I don't know, but we might.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we went round the whole coolant reroute route with Brian's car.
Yeah, it doesn't look great.
It's not even, it's annoying. How many times did
it's a great compromise. It is the epitome of a compromised coolant solution. It works, but it's just a...
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, his car, the coolant temperature is rock solid.
Yeah.
And it is noticeably cooler than one without without the coolant reroute. But every time we've had to go near the inlet manifold for any reason, it's like, oh, this pipe's in the way of everything.
It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. So we'll give it a bit of consideration, but it's not going to be critical for today's mission. So first things first, let's go deal with engine mounts. It's time to alarm Craig. What's he doing?
Hello.
I don't have a corner. I can't get away far enough. Oh, don't look good. Right.
Obviously, I'm a man who really likes to draw out an episode, but at least in this instance, I'm actually doing something, well, it's not directly related to the engine, it's directly related to the car, and it's long overdue. Isn't it just time we spoke about steering racks? Now, to catch everyone up, this is a smart car steering rack because it's very, very narrow. We did a whole thing of bump steer, have a look through the previous episodes. What I've done is got rack extenders, so we now get to exactly where we want the angle of the ball joints to be for the steering inner and outer tie rods. Now, the only problem here is I could happily just plug this in and leave it, but as you can quite clearly see, we don't have gaiters. Now, this has been I'll think about this some other day, and as we are on a drive to make that other day today, we need to have a think about it. But before I do, we can all agree it is absolutely minging. So let's get that addressed. Right, one painted steering rack, and I have put on the rack extenders that we discussed way back in some other episode. And there's a reason for this. We now need to see if we can make this sealed, which is in itself a bit of an adventure because rack extenders. So I would need, if I was going to just do one, or you know, the most obvious solution, that's that in full lock. So I'd need to get the ball joint on the end of that. So I'd need a gaiter that would go from here to here, and that would also compress to there. And they don't exist because physics. So what I need to do instead is have two gaiters. So one that's going to go from here to here, that will take up the accordion of that, and another one which will go here to here, which will allow the movement of this. So that's going to look a bit spicy, but it should work. So the gaiter that I've found, that's off a motorcycle fork. Those are normally seen on the front of bikes, and as luck would happen, it is the perfect size to go over that. And the inside of that is 30 millimeters, which was close enough but won't actually work with this. So what we're gonna have to do instead is machine this down. Now, as that happens, that's not the worst thing in the world either, because this right now works as a lock stop. At the moment, I got these made up, so I thought that would be perfect to stop there. But realistically, it doesn't need this. We can actually have that go in a wee bit further. So these guys need to be machined down to about here, 30 millimeter in diameter, and then we can look at getting from here out dealt with. But in order to do that, point of authority. we have ARPs for the flywheels, but we do not have a flywheel or a clutch. So I take back everything I said about RTS, because they have taken 2 weeks. I was holding all of this so that I could put this in for good, but clearly it's not going to. So this is why in the next episode of this, we have massive continuity errors, and I do all of this stuff when there's no engine in place. Now you know why I'm trying to do 2 episodes at the same time. Anyway, let's skip to the point with the flywheel. There we go, it's in, which in itself is a good thing, but I also wanted to set myself the challenge of fitting it myself. You'll notice there's nobody else giving me a hand here, and that was deliberate. I actually wanted to see if I could manhandle this thing in without any additional bodies. I'm pleased to say it actually went in easier than it did the last time. Must be getting good at this. That's not to say though we are done with the fitment. I don't have the mounts properly bolted up and I can't seem to pry them in. That's definitely going to be a two-body job because I've got a feeling I need to go underneath to do it. And let's not forget that even though this is starting to look quite assembled, this guy is still the heaviest part in this, and if I start moving it around, this could get unstable, so that will need a few bodies. Similarly, gearbox mount, not even touched it, it's just resting on the chassis right now. And obviously we've got all the other ancillary things to put back on the engine too, but that's to come, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. So that's a massive step. I think that's a bit of a win as well, because now that it's in and looking good, it's going to be a motivator as well. Anyway, in the next episode I've got a wee behind the scenes, because the clutch, whilst it is a good clutch, and I will say it went on easy and it looks great and it'll handle power, the delivery time for that was obscene. I mean, that's actually pushing 4 weeks now it's took, so yeah, if you're going to need a clutch and you want to buy it from RTS, make sure you order it a month before your clutch fails, if that makes sense. But yeah, anyway, I digress. We don't recommend products on here. We're definitely not sponsored by any, so make your own judgment. That's all for now. Patreon.com/toolsandtrack is the reason why I've not seen an ad for the whole episode. If you want to say thanks for that, jump over, have a look. All the content, and there is mountains of it that doesn't appear on YouTube for weeks and weeks in advance. That all goes there the minute it's live, so have a check and see what you think. If you're looking for an update in a hurry, you'll find it there. If that's not for you though, I get it. Do have a wee like, bell, subscribe, share this content as well, because we are trying to grow and it's been a slog. Definitely helps if you do the share thing. And until next weekend, guys, drive safe.